Hey everyone. Yeah, we're live. So let's get going. Welcome. I'm going to quickly cover some tips that I want you to remember and really use and use as we kind of just digest and reflect on the 2025 Super Bowl, American football. So there's lots to be said. Um, Maybe your team made it, maybe your team did not, and maybe you're rooting for one team or whatever. I want to come from a marketing lens of what we should know and remember as it relates to the Super Bowl. And I really wanted to go live last night, but I just couldn't really. Um, yeah, so where should I start? I want to do an analysis of halftime, but I'm not going to do that because I want to talk about marketing. But the first thing, if you can hear me actually, let me know in the chat. And you all know that I'm going to give you these tips and I'm going to make it quick. But if you can't stay in, or if you like a recap in the tips that I share so that you can just have them for your own note-taking purposes, I will drop that in the chat. So let me do that. If you're viewing live or even replay, let me know where you are viewing from. If you're new here, hello and welcome. Excited to chat with you. I am Tiffany Marshall, and I market and systemize businesses with excellence. So let me quickly put this in the chat and see if I am missing any comments really quickly. Okay. So I got that message pinned, so we are good to go. So when we think about marketing, marketing is really letting people know that you are here. You never want to stop marketing yourself because you want to bring people from the pillar of awareness to all the way through to being your advocate. And there's a process in that. And so I know many times we think that, oh, I don't have to market, or I've already posted that, or I've already made that connection. I went to that networking event. You need to continue to do it. If Cheerios, Oreos, and Budweiser are still running commercials, then surely you and I need to be marketing and promoting our businesses. It's all about getting more eyes on your brand, about making new relationships and connections. And consistency is key. So when we think about just the momentum of the game, I don't know about you all, but I really did not expect the score to be the way that it was. I was expecting a little more competition. I just, for whatever reason, felt that there was going to be a comeback in the second half. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I just expect a little more. But we can all agree that the Eagles kept their momentum. And that's what steady brands do. Steady brands have just a presence that is consistent and memorable, and you really don't forget them because you see them all the time. People have short attention spans, so you want to ensure that you are staying in the front of people's minds. Just like in marketing, you just can't do things sporadically. That's not going to work in your favor. So we saw Budweiser, we saw Nike really stay true to who they are. So be consistent. And I'm going to wind this down because you all know I'm quick, quick, quick. Secondly, speak to your audience. Like, know who's watching. One thing that I like is that we saw advertisements from Ulta, NYX, and what does that say? This is the Super Bowl. What does it say? This says that women, we know you are watching. We know that the viewership of women watching sports has increased. So we are not scaling back. We are comfortable with spending money on the Super Bowl talking about cosmetics. So female viewership is huge. And even if women are not football fans, they are either in a home with their husbands, boyfriends, sons, nephews, cousins watching this game. And they know that women, if they don't watch the game, they are watching what? The halftime show. So just to see that in there is very important. And so the lesson here is to understand your audience and don't waste content on the wrong audience. So you know who's watching you, you know who your products and your services for. Speak to those people and show them exactly what you have to offer. We've been in Ulta. But is Ulta a store that you frequent every week? Probably not, unless you are like a makeup artist, an esthetician, but they're bringing themselves back to the forefront and they're saying, hey, I see you. And also, if you think about it, as a female watching the Super Bowl and seeing a commercial that's tailored just for you, you're like, oh my gosh, I do need to go stroll through Ulta. And Ulta is one of those stores when you go in, you're just going to definitely get more than you purchased. I mean, than you intended to purchase. So know your audience and speak to them. And even if you think that your audience is not in the room, they just might be, and think of a way to cater to them. So we typically think that, Super Bowl advertisements will be catered to men, beer, and so forth. If you know your audience is still somewhere in the room, you can still target them. So know your audience and speak to them. Okay. And thirdly, I would say, I don't know, know culture and respect it. I think that watching this Super Bowl, it was true to the culture. The culture and status of kind of where we are as a community and as a country. Um, let's think back to Hellman's. When you think of like Hellman's mayonnaise, it just gives you like old school nostalgia vibes, right? Um, if you look at any male commercial, especially the older commercials, they just somehow included family because everyone loves a good sandwich. So Hellman's, they understood the connection that they have to the culture. And Hellman's is an old brand. They really have not changed their style from their label, their formula. I remember being young, I thought the Hellmann's was just like old and bland. I prefer Miracle Whip, but they've stayed consistent and they pulled on the heartstrings by just, giving people that old school feeling and helping them reminisce on Hellmann's because I'm sure everyone has had Hellmann's products at some point in their life. And so the Super Bowl, you have a large audience that is watching and they hit that. Then you have Kendrick Lamar doing halftime. Y'all, like, I don't even have time to unpack it all. But he stayed true to the culture, to the West Coast culture. Um, to Black culture and really true to himself as an artist. And what I like about art and culture is it gives us the opportunity. It keeps the window of permission open to just be yourself. When you go visit an art gallery, a museum, you'll come across so many different pieces of art and they speak so many different languages and we all have different perspectives and we are seeing that unravel in a lot of the commentary that is out on the social right now. And there are a group of people that connected with the message that Lamar was sharing, and there are people who did not connect either because they don't agree or don't understand or misunderstood. But if you know what you know, and if Kendrick really stayed true to the culture. And I would say they knew who they invited to perform. They knew the lyricist, the artist that Kendrick is. And if I'm not mistaken, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner as well. This is a lyricist, he's a writer, and I didn't expect anything else. Um, it 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 spoke loud. So in this point, in understanding culture and connecting with your audience, understand that everything is not for everyone. Everyone is not going to agree with your marketing. Everyone is not going to agree with your post. Everyone is not going to agree with the mission of your company and your brand. And that's okay. Like, there's no way that you can serve everyone. I was just watching, I won't say the company name, but I was just watching their new launch and their fashion show. It's not a fashion show, but I'll call it a fashion show. Their clothing is not for everyone. It's not for every body type. And that's okay. And we have to be okay with knowing that everything is not for us. We have to be okay with having different opinions and different perspectives. And if you're going to be in business, if you're going to grow your brand, you have to be okay with sticking to what you know best and own it. Because there's an audience out there for you, and that audience will support you and advocate for you to the end. You cannot be out here and just, yeah. So know what you do best, stick to it, double down. And that's what these brands did. Fourthly, and then I'm going to give you one more tip and then we're going to be done. Fourthly, understand that innovation keeps you ahead. And these commercials were basically, think of it as your marketing campaign. When you look at your marketing for this year going forward, do you have a campaign rolled out? Like, do you have a plan for what you're going to market and how? Or are you just sporadically popping up with events and popping up with products and posting a random flyer here and a random flyer there? Is there any rhyme or reason to what you do? A campaign has to be solid and it has to, I want to go to my next point, but it has to be solid. And you have to understand that your impact is based upon really your organization of what you are rolling out and sharing with the world. I will also say that AI had a big contribution to a lot that was done in throughout Super Bowl. But use AI, I don't have time to go into that, but use AI, train it, use it as a tool to guide you, but don't let it do all of your work. Okay. And be innovative. If you are feeling safe in your marketing, safe is now congruent to being stale, and you don't want that. In my Marketing Trends 2025 video, I shared that this is the year to push your creative edge, and I'll link that video below. This is the year to push your creative edge. Like, take risks, have fun with your marketing. I like today that Coach, they posted that they had just a caption or a social of status. There's a status that said, Coach said the Eagles were in their bag, get you one. Loved it. In fact, I think that post got a lot of love online. And I was like, have fun with your marketing. I put that in my Facebook group. Have fun with your marketing. Yes. Philly got in their bag. You should too. Right now, I'm looking at 3,000 shares and over 13,000 reactions on a sentence that simply said, Philly got their bag. You should too. And it's really about being relatable and just having content that speaks to your audience. Get your bag, get in the bag. They weren't worried about, oh, Kansas City fans are not going to like this post. No, like, you go with the wave and go with the wave while it's up, because trends are moving so fast. So you don't have time to, think things out all the way. You need, like, last night, I know that marketing teams were up trying to think of content, because right now Super Bowl is hot. Tomorrow it's going to be something else. So you want to make sure that you're thinking ahead and looking at your calendar. What do you have planned for Valentine's? Well, Valentine's is here. What do you have planned for Mother's Day? What's going to be your Mother's Day campaign? What story are you going to write? What story are you going to tell to appeal to your audience and keep your brand afresh? And that brings me to point five, like storytelling and authenticity will make you unforgettable. People care less about your product. They care more about your story. You have to start understanding that people buy into stories, not just products. People buy into stories, not just products. Some of my favorite brands, I frequent those companies and those stores because of what they do in their mission. There are some places where I'll buy my lunch because I know what they do with the leftover food. I know what they do as far as contributing to the homeless, contributing to nonprofit organizations, contributing to special needs organizations. I know about the diversity of their company and their initiatives. I know that they have a nonprofit that helps build business owners. Tory Burch has a Tory Burch Foundation. Like, I buy into the mission of that company. And are you telling people that? Are you telling people about the work that your company does outside of just your products and your services? Do you have a scholarship? Do you support a nonprofit organization? What is it that you're doing that's going to draw people in to really support you? Buying, okay? Buying is emotional. So when you're selling and promoting and marketing yourself, you have to connect with people on this level. And be authentic with it. Be yourself. Be honest and work, with integrity. You have to understand that you're not just a product. You are a movement. And I think that's one thing that we can also learn from halftime. So Kendrick really didn't get on stage to entertain. He got on stage to share a message, whether you liked it or not. It was about a message. It was about a movement. It was a cultural movement. And it really spoke to unity more than people want to acknowledge. We are so much stronger when we are together. Do you understand that how impactful, how more enjoyable life will be if we understood that life is about unity? When we talk about it's not been about your color, where you're from, I don't have to agree with you, but I'm going to respect you. Let's stop fighting. Do you understand that people would stress less? People would sleep better, people would work better if we understood that we're on this planet together and everything that each of us do has an impact on the other, whether we like it or not. But we don't like to think of unity like that, but it's the truth. So you have to understand that when you show up, you are more than your product, you are more than your service. You show up because you have impact. So you have to start telling the story behind what you do. And in my Marketing Trends 2025 webinar, I talked about that. I talked about how you share your story. You can't just post up and say, buy me. You just can't reach out to people. You just can't email people when you have tickets to sell. That's not authentic, because even if I have the money to attend your event, if I have not heard from you, if you have not checked on me, if you have not helped me, if you have not added value to me, I don't care about giving you my money. I'm not going to make it a priority. And too often in business, we don't think of people as people. We think of people as dollar signs. And this does not mean that you neglect money. This does not mean that you don't set income goals. This does not mean that you don't go for the bag. But this means that you have to understand that people buy into stories and not just products. And you have to understand and tell your story over and over and over and almost until, actually, not almost, you tell your story over and over until people are able to tell your story for you. That's you bringing people from awareness to advocacy, to where they become your marketing pieces, to where they can leave out of your sight and talk about you and tell your story and why they give you their money. They are becoming marketing pieces for you. That is what you want. And I kid you not, people could say way more about how you treat them, how you make them feel versus your product. I can sit here and tell you about some of my favorite companies for minutes, probably an hour, much longer than I can tell you about the one product or the several products that I bought from them. Okay. Um, Also Nike. Nike is has been very prevalent in the Super Bowl. It's not just about the check, but it's about just doing. It's about perseverance. It's about victory. It's about grit. Look at the imagery that they use. Look at the video that they use. But they're telling their story over and over and over again. So this is why you prefer to wear a Nike shirt versus another brand. This is why you prefer to wear a Nike branded shoe versus another brand. It's because of the story, right? And then when you wear those clothes or you connect with that company, you have a sense like people feel valid because they're wearing Nike versus the other brand. So you have to continue to go after this and make sure that your messaging is clear and consistent. Be who you are and own it. What do you do and why? You say it and you own it. Again, you're not in this for everybody to agree with you. That's okay. It's okay. Just be your authentic self. And maybe you have to sit and ask yourself, what is my authentic self? What is my brand story? What is my company story? Maybe I am just posting posts. Maybe I am just sporadically doing things and I have not told my story. And you're wondering why people aren't listening or not paying attention or not gravitating to what you're doing. You have to think of this thing like a bullseye. Like you have to be targeted in your marketing and in your messaging. But we're just so sporadic. We're just doing things here and there and doing pop-ups and this and that. And we're not understanding why we're not reeling people in. So be clear, be consistent, be authentically you in your storytelling. That makes you unforgettable. Show your audience who you are, what you stand for, what you do, and why you do it. That's going to bring in real engagement and bring in a real impact. And let me tell you, when you are zero in on that, when you are super focused on that, you really don't care about any other chatter around you. Business whether we like it or not, business is very spiritual. Like it builds you up in more ways than one. So to recap, marketing lessons that we can take away from the Super Bowl: be consistent, right? Consistency is what wins. Have that momentum, have that steadfastness. Your digital presence matters online, and your presence and your connections and your relationship building matters offline. Secondly, you want to know your audience and speak to them. Know your audience and speak to them. Know your audience and you speak to them. It's your audience will know your tone, will know your voice, will know your lingo. Anybody else? Don't worry about it. Thirdly, you want to create culture, create connection through culture, right? Create connection through culture. And that's what happened. That's what happened. Our experiences are our experiences. So know the culture of your company, and we've seen so many things, especially last year through right before the 2024 election in the US, there were a lot of companies that took a just stand toward what they believe was the truth. That was them creating connection with their audience. So whatever way that looks like for you, think about the culture of your company and clarify that and connect with your audience. Fourth, be sure to stay innovative and stay ahead so that you can stay afresh and afloat. And five, storytelling and authenticity makes you unforgettable. Tell your story. Be true, be genuine, be authentic. Okay? It matters. And if you have any other questions or anything, I would love to answer them. Don't forget, you can click the link. Please do click the link of the pinned comment, and I'll send you these notes, a quick recap. Share this out, and don't take your marketing lightly. You will not win sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get in the game. You've got to get in the game so that you can eventually get to the end zone. Okay? So thanks for watching, and